here to unpack essentially what Julius Malema said is, of course, Dr. Ongama Mtimka. I mean, of course, a lot said there by the EFF, some very strategic, pointers that he's made, particularly on the coalitions. I mean, what for you were the highlights, Dr. Mtimka?
Masterstroke that Julius Malema has played here. First of all, the country and the tension at the moment built on social media is threatening, the acceptance of results. And I think that his move is helping to, and it's a very logical move, that whatever recounting can happen, it cannot fundamentally alter what's happening. And then I think also they have stayed clear of the major issues that they think the MK party is going to demand from the ANC, from a coalition, and therefore have just positioned themselves to be a lot more attractive ally. And lastly, they are willing to go to Parliament this time. And I think that actually says to the ANC, we have people here that want to work with yourselves. And I think that the one issue that he also highlights about the possibility for not all the things that they want to agree on to be finalized before the 14 days are over is actually creating a room for compromises, and that is preparing the support base of the EFF to be prepared that they may not get everything. I think here there's not going to be a hard bargaining by the EFF.
Well, there's, of course, a hive of activity right here at the Rock. The IEC is expected to be giving a results capturing update any moment now. And of course, we've been hearing the ringing of that particular bell as those numbers are edging very closely to the finish line. At the moment, we're sitting at 99.2% complete votes. Of course, the EFF not looking so great. But, just given what Malema was saying there, I mean, the EFF is trailing behind the MK party. Just your sense in terms of what he said in relation to the MK party.
I strongly agreed with that, and I've said it on air actually, that the political parties grow in waves. In 2014, it was the wave of anger against JZ. In 2019, it was a wave of anger against Cyril. And is quite right. That support base that had left the ANC, the ANC of Ramaphosa, has now gone back to its home. And explains what's happening in KZN. Obviously, there are other factors. There are some ways in which the open immigration policy compromised them, but I like his emphasis on, defending the position that they hold as the EFF. I quite liked his response to the question of the finance minister. Look how tactical he's answering that. He's saying if they agree, and also on the question of the president, he knows that this is going to be a big bargaining issue from MK party. So again, he's saying this is not our president. You had the opportunity to vote him out. You didn't. Don't make it an EFF problem. That is a way of escape to unlock thinking within the ANC to say, look, we are luring you, we are open, and it's your move to make now.
I mean, this is, of course, a very subdued Julius Malema. We understand why. But some of the pointers that he made, like you also say, are very strategic. Just talk to us about what he made in the sense of parliamentary seats as it relates to, EFF members. I mean, I think that he put it in there so that we already know that there are changes to be expected.
I think that Julius Malema is preparing to edit the list to Parliament in ways that can strengthen him, but also in ways that can attract some leaders who come from other parties. So he wants to use those seats in Parliament as a carrot stick in order to attract some allies who may not even be in the EFF at the moment. I think that he wants to use that to say, we can do this, that, and the other as a bargaining position. So that's one of the explanations. But also, I believe him when he says he wants to reward those who've performed during this election. A part of me tells me that he wants to use this also as a mechanism to control the EFF. I think is due for a Congress later in the year or early next year. So he wants to strengthen his base here and ensure that he consolidates his power within the EFF by those positions.
Just to go back to what he said in as far as coalitions are concerned, I mean, he started off by listing a number of issues and a number of times that the ANC, he says, has abused its majority in Parliament, including the handling of a Phala scandal as an example. What is the likely scenario there when they start these engagements with the ANC?
Let me couple it with your subdued interpretation.
Yeah.
So throughout this election, the EFF has been playing a wait and see game. And I think that they knew that their strategic maneuver comes after the election, because they knew that they didn't have a grand idea that could swing the vote in significant ways. So my sense is that the cardinal pillars and everything else have been mentioned as a matter of necessity and as a matter of course. But the big issue, for me, I think this is a bluffing, this is a gambit, this is an opening move. These are not going to be deal breakers. The EFF are very keen on getting into government to such an extent that they are more amenable to negotiation. And I think that there's not going to be any doomsday proportions kind of coalition if they go into a coalition together. Not that they will not try, not that they are not going to have areas in which they say, at least let us save face and try and do these things. But I doubt that it's going to be the proportions that have been threatened throughout the existence of the EFF.
So with the 99 plus percent or so votes already in, and we're looking at, of course, these numbers, the MK party at 14.68%, EFF at 9.46%. When we look at the MK party, I mean, they are the real big winners here. So what is their, status quo in as far as coalitions is concerned? Who have they indicated, if at all, that they will be then, in discussion with? I mean, how does an MK, ANC, EFF coalition look like?
Yeah, so they've made reference to this issue of black parties. Julius Malema playing the stroke now and playing the cards open now is wanting to distinguish the EFF from MK party while not taking a swipe from MK party. Now, what that does for the ANC, it unlocks the thinking to say there's a possibility to go into a coalition with the EFF. What the Umkhonto weSizwe party have said is that they're willing to work with the black parties, but their deal breakers include President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, what I think is going to happen is that they are going to show some degree of indifference as far as national coalition is concerned. But I think where they are going to play very hard on and are going to bargain very hard on is on KZN and Gauteng, where their power is significant for the ANC and there is no potential for going over the 50% mark outside of the DA. So I think that they're going to be a lot more open. We know that they want Ubaba to have some peace, to be let off the hook. I doubt to what I don't know to what extent judicial processes subject to political processes. Unless they could, drive a national security agenda, which is the only basis upon which the executive can actually do political accommodation, in a constitutional way. Otherwise, outside of that, I don't know how they can bargain with saying, give Baba some peace, drop the charges, or whatever the case may be. Because the actors within the NPA are people who should act on the basis of rationality and the law, unless there's a national security question that arises, which doesn't concern them, but the executive as a political actor.
Yeah, you raise an important point. Of course, I think it's an issue that is on everyone's mind in terms of just what is next, So say, for instance, in a scenario where it's not favorable for former President Jacob Zuma, from a legal sense, how would that play out and how would that look like?
That's going to be interesting. I don't know. Two things about MK Party. They still have to manage the internal tensions that we can expect are going to be augmented by a scramble for allocations of seats, allocations of benefits. Some people within the party may have been subdued and may have controlled themselves in the election period because they still needed to secure some tangible benefits. Now that they have them, as the Zuma family plays their cards, there's going to be a degree of acceptance of their sort of de facto authority to do that. But if it threatens some emerging elites within MK party, we may see the boat being rocked there by some. So I think at this moment, they are too volatile, in my view, to be pursuing coalitions with them. There may be pursuit of collaborations and understandings, but formal coalitions are just not in everybody's favor. So I think that them playing in KZN and securing a majority there and some role in Gauteng is maybe the best place for them to play, not at a national level.